Everything in your life right now is a result of the choices you've been making, even the ones you don't notice. In 2026, you have the chance to hit reset and take control, but it starts with honesty. Are you really doing what it takes, or are you letting excuses, distractions, and fear decide for you? Most people drift through another year hoping things will change without doing the work, and that's why nothing really shifts. This video isn't about motivation that disappears in a day. It's about practical, real steps you can take every single day to rebuild your life, strengthen your mind, fix the little problems before they explode, and become someone you and others can rely on. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to act even when life is hard, how to stay disciplined when nothing feels easy, and how to make 2026 the year you finally reclaim your life and move forward with purpose and confidence. Chapter 1. Face uncomfortable truths about your life without escaping. You are standing at the edge of a new year, and there is a very simple truth you need to face. Your life is the way it is because of choices you made and choices you avoided. Most people spend more time avoiding than acting. They distract themselves with noise, entertainment, work, or comfort. They convince themselves that tomorrow will be better, that next week will bring clarity, that someone else will fix what they refuse to handle. That is where most people get stuck. That is where hope dies quietly. Rebuilding your life in 2026 begins with one thing: facing the uncomfortable truths you have been avoiding. Facing truth is not easy. It is heavy. It requires you to stop lying to yourself about your effort, about your time, about your priority. It forces you to look at where you wasted hours, where you ignored responsibilities, and where you told yourself that small excuses were actually legitimate reasons. The mind is skilled at creating comfort, at creating illusions of progress. You might feel proud of what you did, even when what you did not move your life forward. That feeling is dangerous because it disguises inaction as accomplishment. It is calm on the surface but rotting underneath. The first step is admitting that you have been quiet about your truth, admitting that some part of you knows that you have avoided responsibility, and finally accepting that this avoidance has a cost. Humans are remarkably good at rationalizing their behavior. You convince yourself that being tired justifies putting off important work. You convince yourself that being busy is the same as being productive. You convince yourself that thinking about your life or planning for change is the same as acting on it. The difference is enormous. Thinking without action is empty. Planning without execution is meaningless. Facing truth forces you to confront that difference. It forces you to recognize that no amount of thinking will replace the hours, the consistency, the effort, and the discipline you failed to apply. Facing your life also means looking at your habits without bias. Which habits serve you, and which ones steal from your potential? Which relationships lift you, and which ones drain you silently? Which promises to yourself have you kept, and which have you broken without notice? You might be afraid of these questions because the answers are uncomfortable. You might feel shame, or frustration, or even fear of what you will discover. That is natural. These feelings are not punishment. They are signal. They are messages telling you that you have been ignoring important areas of your life. To rebuild, you must acknowledge them, see them clearly, and decide to act in a way that aligns with the life you want. Avoidance comes in many forms. Some people escape through endless entertainment. Some escape through work that does not matter. Some escape through relationships that demand energy but offer little growth. Others escape by convincing themselves that effort is enough, even when results are absent. All of these are forms of avoidance. They feel safe because they protect you from facing failure, disappointment, or the fact that you are not where you want to be. Safe feels good temporarily, but it builds frustration over time. Rebuilding your life requires stepping out of that safety, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it hurts to face what you have ignored. Truth has a weight to it. It can make you feel exposed, embarrassed, or even angry with yourself. That is normal. That is human. What matters is not the discomfort, but how you respond to it. You can face it without judgment, observe it without despair, and act without delay. Facing truth is not self-punishment, it is empowerment. The more clearly you see the reality of your life, the more control you gain. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot rebuild what you refuse to examine. Start with time. Time is the most revealing mirror. How do you spend your hours? Where is your energy going? Do you drift through the day, allowing distractions to dictate your choices, or do you take responsibility for every hour? Facing truth here can be jarring. You may realize that many days were lost to activities that added little value. That realization is uncomfortable, but it is essential, because the moment you see the truth of your time, you can take it back. You can choose what to do, when to do it, and how to guard it. Time reclaimed becomes power. Effort is another place where honesty is required. Stop telling yourself that you worked hard when you only moved slowly, or avoided the tasks that mattered most. Real effort is visible. Real effort leaves results. You must be willing to measure your actions by output and alignment, not by how tired you feel or how busy you were. Stop excusing half effort. Half effort produces half results, and half results pile up into a life that feels mediocre instead of alive. Discipline is a skill. It is built when you demand more of yourself than you feel like giving, day after day. Emotions also need honesty. You must admit when you let fear, doubt, or comfort control you. You must acknowledge when anxiety keeps you from making decisions or pursuing goals. You must see when impatience or frustration leads to avoidance instead of progress. Emotions are signals. They are not enemies. They reveal where your attention is weak and where your self-mastery needs work. Facing them does not mean suppressing them. It means recognizing their influence and choosing deliberate action in spite of them. Relationships reflect truth as well. Who are you around? Your connections, supporting growth or fostering stagnation? Are you honest with others, or do you hide behind politeness, convenience, or avoidance? Do you demand more from yourself than from others? Life is not rebuilt in isolation, but relationships can either accelerate or slow your progress. Facing the truth about these connections is uncomfortable because it forces you to see people as they are and yourself as you have been within them. But once you see clearly, you can choose associations that strengthen rather than weaken your resolve. The most difficult truth of all is personal responsibility. Most people live in blame. They blame circumstances, luck, upbringing, society, or other people. They wait for conditions to improve instead of improving themselves. The truth is that your life is your responsibility. Not all outcomes are fully under your control, but how you respond, how you plan, how you execute, and how you persist is entirely in your hands. Accepting this truth can feel heavy because it removes excuses, but it is also liberating because it places the power to change entirely with you. No one else can rebuild your life. Only you. Start noticing the small details. Look at how you treat commitments. Are you punctual, consistent, and reliable with yourself and others, or do you let negligence slide? Look at your habits around money, health, and learning. Are you investing in yourself, or are you avoiding discomfort for temporary pleasure? Look at the quality of your thought. Are you honest about your emotions and your intentions, or are you convincing yourself of things that make you feel better, but do not change outcomes? Every detail matters. Every truth you face is a step toward reconstruction. Do not fear what you will uncover. Facing truth is not failure, it is clarity. Clarity allows you to make decisions that align with the life you want, rather than reacting to circumstances or emotions. Once you see clearly, the fog disappears. Choices that once felt overwhelming become simple. Actions that once seemed impossible become doable. Rebuilding begins when you stop pretending and start seeing your life as it is. The process is daily. You will not face all truths at once. You will not overhaul everything immediately. Start small. Look at one area, one habit, one choice at a time. Observe without judgment. Decide deliberate. Act consistently. Gradually, the pattern of honesty will reshape your perception, your decisions, and your behavior. Progress comes not from grand gestures, but from repeated, honest action. Facing uncomfortable truths also strengthens resilience. Life will test you. Challenges, setbacks, and failures are inevitable. But when you face the truth of your actions and circumstances, you are prepared. You no longer deny reality, so obstacles do not surprise you. You meet challenges with clarity, strategy, and focus. You learn faster, adapt quicker, and act more decisively. Resilience grows from seeing things as they are and responding intentionally. You will feel resistance. You will want to escape, to rationalize, to comfort yourself with lies. That is normal. But every time you resist escape, every time you choose clarity over comfort, you strengthen your capacity for growth. That strength compounds quietly. Over weeks and months, it builds a life that feels solid, deliberate, and satisfying. Rebuilding your life in 2026 starts in this exact place. Stop hiding. Stop rationalizing. Stop pretending. Look at your choices, your habits, your effort, your time, your relationships, and your responsibility. See them as they are. Accept them fully. And then make the conscious decision to act differently. Step by step, day by day, moment by moment, honesty becomes a habit, discipline becomes natural, and results begin to emerge. There is freedom in facing truth. There is power in seeing clearly. There is peace in knowing that your life is no longer governed by excuses or illusion. You cannot control everything, but you can control your attention, your effort, and your response. That is enough to rebuild a life that feels intentional, purposeful, and strong. This is the foundation. The rest of 2026 is built on it. Everything else depends on what you choose to do now, how willing you are to look honestly at yourself, and how committed you are to acting consistently. Truth is the first step. Clarity is the second. Action is the third. Together, they create the life you have always wanted, but never dared to face fully. When you face the uncomfortable truths of your life without escape, you stop blaming, you stop avoiding, and you stop settling. You see clearly where change is needed. You accept responsibility without excuses. You take ownership of your habits, your choices, and your outcomes. That is where transformation begins. That is how a life is rebuilt. That is how 2026 becomes the year you stop pretending and start creating the life you deserve. Facing truth is not a one-time event. It is a constant practice. Each morning, review your actions. Each evening, reflect on your decisions. Notice where you avoided responsibility, where you gave in to comfort, and where you acted with intention. Make small adjustments. Over time, these small adjustments compound into significant change. The uncomfortable truths become clear guides, not threats. They are your roadmap, not your punishment. The process is simple in principle but difficult in practice. It requires honesty with yourself that most people avoid. It requires courage to act when fear wants you to freeze. It requires discipline to persist when comfort tempts you to quit. It requires focus to act on truth instead of emotion. But every step taken on this path moves you closer to a life that feels earned, deliberate, and solid. This is the path of self-reliance. This is the path of empowerment.
This is the path to rebuilding your life in 2026. Face your truths. Accept responsibility. Take action consistently. Stop hiding. Stop lying. Stop escaping. That is where freedom begins. That is where growth begins. That is where your life finally becomes yours. This path is not easy. It is not fast. It is not guaranteed by luck or external approval. It is guaranteed only by your willingness to see clearly, act deliberately, and refuse to settle for illusion. The rewards are immense. Clarity, control, focus, discipline, and the deep satisfaction of knowing that your life is built on reality and deliberate choice rather than convenience and avoidance. Step into it fully. Face your life honestly. Begin now. Do not wait. There is no replacement for this moment. It is the foundation of everything you want in 20.
Chapter 2. Stop lying to yourself about effort and discipline. Effort and discipline are not concepts to admire from afar. They are actions to practice every day. Most people believe they are working hard, but in reality, they are skimming the surface of what matters. They wake up, go through the motions, and convince themselves that this is enough. You have probably done this more times than you care to admit. You have told yourself that showing up once or twice counts as consistency. You have excused laziness with busyness. You have allowed small comforts to replace meaningful work. These habits accumulate quietly and steal the life you say you want. Lying to yourself about effort begins with perception. You might think your work is sufficient because you are busy, but busyness does not equal progress. Checking items off a list of low-impact tasks can create the illusion of action, while the work that actually moves your life forward waits untouched. True effort is measured by results and alignment, not feelings of exhaustion. You might feel tired at the end of the day and interpret it as proof that you did enough. That feeling is deceptive. Energy spent on trivial matters is wasted energy. Discipline is needed to distinguish between the important and the unnecessary, and to act accordingly, even when it is uncomfortable. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect expressed through action. It is choosing long-term benefit over short-term comfort. Many people confuse discipline with rigidity or harshness. They think discipline means forcing yourself through unpleasant routines without thought. That is not discipline. Discipline is showing up consistently, following through on commitments, and prioritizing actions that create meaningful results. It is less about intensity and more about consistency. It is the quiet commitment to do what needs to be done regardless of mood, motivation, or desire. Self-deception around discipline often starts with half effort. You allow yourself to start tasks without finishing them. You promise to complete a goal but give in to distractions before results are realized. You underestimate the cost of procrastination and overestimate the value of intention. Every time you leave a task unfinished, you reinforce the habit of avoidance. Over time, that habit becomes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who tries but does not follow through. That identity is the enemy of rebuilding your life. Rebuilding demands honesty, accountability, and the willingness to act even when it is uncomfortable. One of the most common lies people tell themselves is that tomorrow will be better. They delay starting because they are waiting for the perfect moment, or more energy or the right mindset. The truth is, perfect moments do not exist. Energy fluctuates. Motivation is unreliable. Action is the only variable you can control. Discipline begins when you do not wait. When you act now, even imperfectly, you create momentum. Momentum is the engine of progress. Without it, intentions remain ideas, and ideas without action are meaningless. Effort requires attention to your priorities. You must identify which actions will move you toward your goals and which actions are distractions. Not everything that demands your time deserves it. Many people confuse activity with achievement. They fill their days with tasks that feel important, but do not produce meaningful results. Discipline is recognizing this distinction and choosing deliberately. It is saying no to what does not matter, so you can say yes to what does. It is the daily practice of aligning your actions with your objectives, not your impulses. The mind will resist honesty. It will create rationalizations to justify inaction. It will whisper excuses about tiredness, stress, or lack of resources. Those whispers feel reasonable, but they are trapped. The mind prefers comfort to growth. Comfort is seductive because it offers immediate relief while delaying consequences. Growth requires discomfort. Discipline requires persistence. When you feel excuses rising, do not listen to them. Observe them, acknowledge them, and act anyway. The strength of your character is forged in these moments. Observing your own effort also requires measuring it objectively. Keep track of the hours you spend, the quality of your work, and the consistency of your action. Be honest about whether your effort is sufficient to produce the results you claim to want. Do not be fooled by partial completion or by low standards. Accountability is a mirror that reveals the truth about your habit. Without it, you will continue to deceive yourself about how much you are actually doing versus how much you need to do. Discipline is strengthened through small, repeated actions. It is not built in a single day of intense effort. It is developed through steady, daily commitment. Each time you resist distraction, each time you push through discomfort, each time you complete what you promised yourself, you reinforce the habit of follow-through. That habit compounds over time, creating consistency that becomes automatic. You will find that the more disciplined you become, the easier it is to maintain focus and effort, and the more your results reflect your intentions. Avoiding responsibility for your own effort is a subtle form of self-deception. People often blame circumstances, others, or even their lack of knowledge for results they fail to produce. These external factors do exist, but they are not excuses for inaction. You have control over your choices, your priorities, and your response to challenges. Owning your effort, or lack thereof, is empowering. It removes the illusion that outcomes are random or dictated by external forces. Discipline flourishes in the space where personal accountability is accepted and excuses are rejected. Consistency is more valuable than intensity. 1 hour of focused, deliberate action every day outweighs sporadic bursts of extreme effort. Many people believe that effort is about working harder, but it is more about working steadily. Effort becomes habit when it is repeated. Discipline is proven over time, not in isolated moments. When you act consistently, you build momentum, confidence, and reliability. Your progress accelerates because each day builds upon the previous day. Lying to yourself about discipline often involves minimizing small failures. You skip a workout, delay a task, or ignore a commitment, and tell yourself it is insignificant. The truth is that small failures add up. Each one weakens your confidence, erodes trust in yourself, and reinforces avoidance. When you acknowledge every lapse honestly, you gain the ability to correct it. Discipline grows when you face failure, learn from it, and continue despite it. Effort is not determined by how you feel, but by what you do. Motivation fluctuates, confidence waxes and wanes, and energy varies. If you rely on these factors to dictate action, you will be inconsistent. Discipline is taking action regardless of how you feel. It is pushing through resistance. It is honoring commitments when it is inconvenient. That is the difference between intention and achievement. Discipline also requires setting boundaries. You must protect your time and energy from activities and people that drain without contributing to growth. Many people lie to themselves by thinking that all demands are equal in importance. They say yes to obligations that are not aligned with their goals and then feel frustrated by lack of progress. Discipline is saying no to what does not serve your purpose, even when it feels uncomfortable or socially challenging. Reflection is critical. Each evening, review your day and examine whether your effort matched your goals. Be honest about where you fell short and where you succeeded. This process is not for self-criticism, but for clarity. Awareness allows adjustment. By reflecting daily, you identify patterns of avoidance, inefficiency, and distraction. You correct them before they compound into long-term habits. Discipline grows from self-observation coupled with corrective action. Accountability to others strengthens personal discipline. Sharing your goals with people who expect you to follow through creates external pressure that supports internal commitment. Human psychology responds to observation. Knowing that someone else is aware of your commitments motivates you to act consistently. Choose accountability partners carefully, those who will support, challenge, and hold you to high standards without judgment. The effort also involves mental clarity. Your thoughts, beliefs, and self-talk shape behavior. Many people lie to themselves by thinking that their intentions alone are sufficient. Believing that wanting a result equals earning it is a trap. Discipline requires honest evaluation of your thoughts. Are they aligned with your goals, or are they excuses dressed as rationalization? Training your mind to think clearly about effort and priorities is as important as acting physically. Do not confuse activity with progress. Checking emails, attending meetings, or completing small low-impact tasks may feel productive, but they are not meaningful work if they do not move you toward your desired results. Discipline requires the ability to identify what truly matters and to dedicate your effort to those tasks. Focused, deliberate action outweighs scattered, high-energy busyness. The habit of honesty about effort grows stronger with observation and action. Notice when you are avoiding responsibility, procrastinating, or cutting corners. Admit it immediately. Correct it immediately. Each acknowledgement and corrective step builds integrity and self-trust. Integrity with yourself creates momentum. When you stop lying about your effort, your life begins to reflect your real potential. Effort and discipline are inseparable. One without the other is incomplete. You cannot act inconsistently and expect results. You cannot plan meticulously and fail to execute. Rebuilding your life in 2026 depends on the daily practice of matching actions to intentions, completing what you start, and refusing to excuse partial effort. Every choice, every hour, every action counts. By facing yourself honestly, measuring effort objectively, acting consistently, and practicing self-discipline, you begin to reclaim control. You begin to rebuild trust with yourself. You begin to create results that are real, measurable, and satisfying. Life rewards those who act intentionally, who refuse to deceive themselves, and who persist regardless of comfort, mood, or distraction. Every day is an opportunity to practice discipline. Every task is a chance to invest in your future self. Every moment of honesty strengthens your ability to act deliberately. Effort becomes effortless over time, not because work becomes easier, but because consistency turns action into habit. That is the foundation of rebuilding your life, the cornerstone of progress, and the engine of transformation. Stop lying to yourself. Measure your effort. Demand discipline. Honor your commitments. Take action consistently. Align behavior with goals. Protect your time and energy. Observe, reflect, and correct. Persist daily. This is the path to rebuilding your life in Your life will only change to the degree that you stop lying about your effort and start showing up fully every day. That is where real growth begins. That is where results emerge. That is where 2026 can become the year your life transforms
because you refused to settle for excuses and chose action, consistency, and truth.
Chapter 3. Reset your daily choices instead of chasing motivation. Your life is built one choice at a time. Every day, every hour, every decision creates momentum toward the person you are becoming. Most people spend their lives waiting for motivation, waiting for the right feeling to appear before they act. They believe that energy and inspiration will somehow arrive and push them forward. That belief is deceptive because motivation is fleeting, unreliable, and external. It comes and goes with moods, circumstances, and external influences. If you build your life on motivation, your progress will be inconsistent and your results will reflect that inconsistency. Real transformation begins when you stop chasing motivation and start resetting your daily choices deliberately, consistently, and intentionally. Resetting choices is about recognizing that every action matters. It is about examining your daily habits, your routines, and your decisions, and asking whether they serve the life you truly want. Motivation alone does not guide these decisions. Motivation can encourage you to start, but only conscious choice and disciplined action will ensure completion. You must see that every morning, every meal, every conversation, every hour spent on your phone or at work is a choice. Those choices accumulate over time, creating either growth or stagnation. Awareness is the first step. Most people ignore the power of daily choices because they focus on outcomes rather than processes. They look at the distant goal and feel overwhelmed. They hope for a sudden surge of motivation to carry them forward. They believe that feeling ready equals being ready. That is false. Feeling ready rarely arrives, and when it does, it is temporary. The real work is in building the capacity to act, whether you feel ready or not. Every choice you make intentionally is an investment in your future self. The life you want does not come from waiting. It comes from acting consistently in alignment with it. Daily choices include both what you do and what you allow yourself to experience. They include how you spend your time, the people you associate with, the media you consume, and the energy you bring to tasks. Each decision shapes your focus, your habits, and ultimately your results. When you are conscious of these choices, you regain control over your life. When you ignore them, you give power to circumstance and fleeting emotion. Resetting daily choices requires an honest assessment of your routines. Ask yourself where you are wasting energy, where you are drifting, and where you are acting out of habit rather than purpose. The mind naturally seeks comfort. It prefers easy tasks, low resistance, and immediate pleasure. That preference often disguises itself as logic or necessity. You may tell yourself that skipping a task, postponing an obligation, or indulging in distraction is justified. You might believe that doing the minimum is enough for today. Those beliefs are the traps that prevent transformation. Resetting daily choices means rejecting the comfort trap and choosing actions that align with your long-term vision, even when they are uncomfortable in the moment. Discipline is the engine that powers reset choices. Without it, awareness alone is not enough. You can see where your habits fail. You can recognize where your routines undermine your goals, and you can still fall back into old patterns without disciplined action. Discipline allows you to act consistently regardless of how you feel. It allows you to set boundaries with yourself, to prioritize what matters, and to enforce the structure needed to achieve meaningful results. Discipline is not a punishment, it is freedom. It frees you from the chaos of indecision, the trap of fleeting motivation, and the weight of inconsistency. Motivation is seductive because it feels like a shortcut. People chase it because it temporarily boosts confidence and energy. They attend seminars, Watch videos, read articles, and wait for inspiration to strike. These things feel productive, but they are substitutes for real effort. Motivation can start you, but it cannot sustain you. Real progress is sustained by the choices you make daily, the actions you repeat consistently, and the standards you refuse to compromise. Motivation may flicker, but disciplined choices create light that does not fade. Resetting choices also requires clarity about what matters most. Prioritization is not optional. It is essential. You cannot improve everything at once. You cannot fix every aspect of your life immediately. You must identify the few areas that will have the greatest impact and focus your attention there. Every day, make choices that advance those areas. Choose to learn, choose to act, choose to create, choose to improve. Each deliberate choice builds momentum that compounds over time. Indecision, distraction, and scattered attention dissipate your energy and delay progress. One of the most important areas to reset is how you respond to challenges. Motivation often disappears in the face of difficulty, leaving you unprepared for obstacles. When motivation fails, your choices determine your result. Choosing to persist, to continue, and to act in spite of temporary discomfort is the cornerstone of growth. It is far more powerful than waiting for motivation to arrive. Each time you choose action over hesitation, you strengthen your resolve and reinforce the habit of intentional living. Resetting daily choices requires observation. You must track your behaviors, notice patterns, and evaluate whether your actions align with your goals. Small lapses often go unnoticed, but they accumulate into significant setbacks. A missed hour of focus, a skipped task, a weak choice compounds over weeks, months, and years. Awareness creates opportunity. Observing your behavior without judgment allows you to make adjustments immediately. Reflection without reflection is wasted energy. Action without awareness is wasted potential. You must also examine the company you keep. Your daily choices are influenced by those around you. People who settle, complain, or avoid responsibility encourage similar behavior. People who act with discipline, integrity, and focus encourage growth. Choose to spend time with those who elevate you, challenge you, and model the habits you want to develop. Influence is subtle, but it shapes decisions, priorities, and energy. Resetting choices involves consciously selecting influences that support rather than undermine your vision. Energy management is another critical factor. Motivation cannot sustain you if your energy is scattered. Pay attention to how you feed your body, mind, and emotions. Sleep, nutrition, movement, and focused work all contribute to the quality of your daily effort. Poor energy management makes small challenges seem enormous and reduces the capacity to act consistently. Resetting choices includes intentionally managing energy to create conditions where discipline and focus can thrive. Avoiding accountability is one of the most dangerous lies you can tell yourself. You may believe that your choices are private, that your actions affect only you, and that nobody is watching. In reality, accountability strengthens choices. When you commit to follow through, track your progress, and report results, you reinforce discipline. The external structure supports internal consistency. Resetting daily choices is easier when you integrate accountability because it reduces the opportunity to rationalize and drift. Consistency is more important than intensity. One deliberate choice made repeatedly outweighs sporadic bursts of energy fueled by temporary motivation. Many people work hard intermittently and wonder why they see little progress. Consistency compounds results. Each day, choose action. Each day, choose focus. Each day, choose effort. Small consistent actions build habits. Habits build identity.
Identity determines outcomes. The process also involves eliminating unnecessary decisions. Decision fatigue can weaken daily choices, simplify routines, establish non-negotiables, and create structures that reduce the number of trivial choices. When you automate small decisions, your energy is preserved for choices that truly matter. Resetting your daily choices is not about doing more, it is about doing the right things consistently. Efficiency protects discipline. Clarity protects focus. Lying to yourself often comes through minimizing actions. You may claim that you are productive while avoiding the difficult tasks. You may overvalue low-impact activity while underestimating the importance of crucial effort. Resetting daily choices requires brutal honesty. You must evaluate whether your behavior today aligns with your goals, whether you acted with intention, and whether you honored your commitment. Self-deception delays transformation. Truth accelerates it. Your mental environment also shapes choices. Thoughts about fear, doubt, and limitation influence action. People often wait for motivation because they hope their thoughts will align before acting. The truth is that disciplined action trains the mind. Choices made deliberately reinforce belief and confidence. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. The first step is to act. The mind adjusts. Results emerge. Every morning is an opportunity to begin each day by choosing actions that matter. Prioritize the work that moves your life forward. Protect your focus. Refuse distraction. Decide how you will respond to challenges before they arise. Plan intentionally. Discipline requires preparation. Motivation will fluctuate, but preparation ensures consistency. Choices made in the morning set the trajectory for the entire day. Even small actions matter. You may feel that one choice cannot create change. That is false. Compounded choices build momentum, shape habits, and transform identity. Resetting choices is about creating alignment between intention and action. Even a single decision to act consistently, resist distraction, or follow through contributes to building a life that reflects your goals, values, and potential. Reflect at the end of each day. Observe whether your decisions aligned with your objectives. Acknowledge successes. Correct mistakes. Each day is a new opportunity to reset. Transformation is not a single event, it is the accumulation of daily choices. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline is consistent. Intentionality is powerful. By choosing deliberately, refusing to chase feeling, and resetting your actions each day, you gain control of your life and create meaningful progress toward your goals. Do not underestimate the subtle power of your daily decision. Life is the sum of small actions, repeated consistently, over time. Motivation may inspire, but it will not sustain. Discipline is the vehicle of change. Resetting choices transforms habit into identity. Identity shapes outcomes. When you prioritize intentional decisions over fleeting emotion, you become capable of creating consistent results, building resilience, and achieving the life you envision for 20. You can rebuild your life one choice at a time. Each action matters. Each decision accumulates. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop hoping feelings will carry you forward. Focus on resetting your daily choices. Build consistency. Act with purpose. Align behavior with goals. Measure results. Adjust where needed. Repeat. This approach is the foundation of transformation, the key to progress, and the way to ensure that 2026 becomes a year defined by deliberate growth, action, and meaningful achievement.
Chapter 4. Learn to sit with discomfort without quitting early. Discomfort is a signal, not a stop sign. It is part of life, part of growth, and part of building the kind of life that lasts. Most people flee from discomfort the moment it arrives. They avoid challenges, delay decisions, and quit the moment something feels hard or unfamiliar. That instinct is understandable because the mind naturally seeks ease and security. The problem is that growth does not happen in comfort. Success does not arrive where resistance is absent. Learning to sit with discomfort, to stay present with it, and to act in spite of it is one of the most powerful skills anyone can develop. Discomfort takes many forms. It can be physical, like the strain of hard work or the fatigue that follows persistent effort. It can be mental, like confusion, uncertainty, or frustration when results are slow or unclear. It can be emotional, like fear, anxiety, or self-doubt when stepping into new territory. It can be social, like criticism, disagreement, or judgment from others when making choices that challenge norms. Every form of discomfort tests the mind, the body, and the commitment to growth. The key is to sit with it intentionally, not to escape or numb it. Sitting with discomfort requires awareness. Notice the impulse to flee or seek relief. Recognize how the mind tries to justify quitting, postponing, or avoiding. That voice is strong because it protects you from perceived danger, failure, or rejection. But most perceived dangers are temporary, and most fears are exaggerated. When you observe discomfort without reacting immediately, you create space to choose. That space is where discipline grows and where persistence becomes possible. You train yourself to respond with strategy rather than emotion. Quitting early is often disguised as a rational decision. People say things like, "This isn't working, it's too difficult," or "maybe it's not meant for me." In reality, quitting is often a way to avoid the temporary pain required for lasting change. The truth is that results require time, consistency, and patience. Immediate relief feels good, but it does not create progress. Sitting with discomfort allows you to push past the initial resistance, maintain focus, and keep moving when others stop. That persistence distinguishes those who achieve from those who settle. One of the most common forms of early quitting is avoiding difficult tasks. When a project is challenging or unfamiliar, the first instinct is to step back. You may delay, distract yourself, or look for shortcuts. That avoidance may feel safe, but it delays growth. Discomfort is a natural part of learning new skills, building habits, and pursuing meaningful goals. Embracing it instead of running from it builds strength, resilience, and confidence. Every moment of deliberate persistence reinforces the belief that you can handle more than you thought possible. Sitting with discomfort also develops emotional tolerance. Most people quit not because they cannot succeed, but because they cannot stand the feelings that come with the effort. Anxiety, frustration, doubt, and fear are uncomfortable, but they are not dangerous. Learning to experience them without allowing them to dictate your behavior is essential. When you tolerate these emotions, you gain control over your actions. You learn that feelings are temporary, while decisions create outcomes. The ability to manage emotion under pressure is one of the most reliable predictors of success. Discomfort provides information. It tells you where your limits are, where improvement is required, and where you are resisting growth. It is not a sign of failure, it is a signal of opportunity. People who quit early ignore this feedback, seeing difficulty as a threat. People who sit with discomfort analyze it, learn from it, and act in alignment with their goals. They observe what causes the resistance and then make deliberate choices about how to respond. Discomfort becomes a guide rather than an enemy. Persistence is strengthened through repetition. Each time you face discomfort without fleeing, the mind and body adapt. The first few times are difficult, even painful, but over time, the ability to tolerate challenges grows. Muscles strengthen, skills improve, and confidence expands. Repeated exposure to discomfort trains endurance, patience, and resilience. It teaches that discomfort is temporary, but quitting leaves permanent consequences. Every moment spent persisting compounds into capacity and capability. Discomfort also tests commitment. It separates those who talk about change from those who actually make it. Many people are motivated at the start, inspired by vision or possibility, but when resistance arrives, they retreat. True growth is shown in the moments when motivation fades and only choice remains. Choosing to stay, to act, and to persist in those moments is where character is forged. Commitment is measured, not by the easy days, but by how you handle the hard ones. Self-awareness is critical when sitting with discomfort. Notice where you feel tension, what thoughts arise, and how your body responds. That awareness allows you to intervene rather than react automatically. You might feel the urge to quit when progress feels slow, when criticism stings, or when fear intensifies. Instead of surrendering, pause, acknowledge the feeling, and choose the action aligned with your goal. That deliberate response strengthens discipline, reinforces focus, and reduces the power of impulse. Quitting early is often linked to low tolerance for delayed gratification. People want results immediately, feedback instantly, and validation quickly. They abandon tasks, goals, and commitments when progress is not immediate. Sitting with discomfort teaches patience. It teaches that meaningful achievements are rarely instantaneous. Long-term success requires endurance, consistent effort, and the ability to handle resistance without abandoning the process. Patience becomes a skill, reinforced by repeated exposure to difficulty without escape. Discomfort also reveals priority. When faced with difficulty, you see what matters most by observing what you are willing to endure. You may discover that some goals are not as important as you thought. You may notice that some activities consume energy without producing meaningful growth. Sitting with discomfort forces honest evaluation of what is truly worth pursuing. Quitting selectively, when aligned with strategic decisions, is different from quitting out of weakness. The distinction is clarity, not avoidance. Learning to stay present in discomfort strengthens mental resilience. The mind naturally resists pain, tension, and uncertainty. It generates narratives about impossibility, unfairness, and fear of failure. Observing these thoughts without reacting trains the mind to separate perception from reality. You realize that discomfort is not an enemy, but a natural condition of progress. Mental resilience grows with each intentional choice to stay engaged, act, and persist in the face of resistance. Discomfort also teaches control. You cannot always control outcomes, but you can control responses. You cannot remove challenges from life, but you can decide how to engage with them. When you quit early, you surrender control to fear, impulse, or external conditions. When you sit with discomfort, you reclaim authority over your actions, decisions, and attitude. You prove to yourself that persistence is stronger than circumstance, and that patience outweighs impulse. Physical endurance and action are intertwined with discomfort. Your body often signals resistance before your mind does. Fatigue, soreness, tension, or stress may urge withdrawal. Acting in spite of these signals strengthens willpower. It trains the body to support disciplined effort rather than react to avoidance. The alignment of mind and body under discomfort builds confidence, stability, and stamina. This capacity carries over to every area of life, from work to relationships to personal growth. Learning to sit with discomfort requires gradual exposure. Start with small challenges, progressively increasing difficulty over time. Each successful experience reinforces belief and capability. Avoiding discomfort entirely leaves you unprepared for the inevitable challenges that life presents. Regular practice reduces sensitivity to stress and strengthens the ability to persist through uncertainty. Growth becomes predictable because your response to resistance is deliberate rather than reactive. Discomfort also cultivates self-trust. Each time you persist, you prove to yourself that you can endure, act and complete tasks, regardless of temporary unease. That self-trust compounds, creating confidence that you can handle future difficulties. When trust in yourself is strong, hesitation diminishes. The fear of discomfort loses its grip. Action becomes the default, not the exception. Quitting early becomes less likely because you have internalized the ability to persist. Reflection strengthens the process. After each experience of sitting with discomfort, analyze what you learned. Consider how the challenge shaped skills, insight, or character. Recognize that each moment of tension, anxiety, or strain is an investment in growth. Reflection transforms raw experience into wisdom. Wisdom guides future decisions and builds resilience systematically rather than haphazardly. Discomfort is inevitable. Life cannot be molded into comfort at all times. Quitting temporarily relieves pain, but prolongs stagnation. Choosing to endure does not remove discomfort, but it transforms its effect. Each moment of persistence shifts the balance from weakness to strength, from uncertainty to capability, and from reaction to control. Endurance is built quietly, consistently, and deliberately. External circumstances may create additional pressure. Criticism, competition, rejection, or failure can intensify discomfort. Many quit under this pressure. Those who sit with discomfort learn to separate external opinion from internal resolve. The opinions of others do not dictate persistence. The standards you set for yourself define endurance. Consistent action, in alignment with personal standards, produces progress that is independent of external validation. Discomfort also deepens focus. When challenges arise, the mind can scatter, seeking escape or distraction. Staying present within discomfort trains attention. You learn to focus on what is within your control, on the next step, on meaningful action. That focused attention accelerates problem solving, enhances decision-making, and reinforces discipline. The ability to concentrate under pressure is one of the most undervalued skills for personal growth. Patience is reinforced through repeated exposure. The immediate relief of quitting is tempting, but long-term rewards require resisting that temptation. Each time you choose to endure, patience strengthens. You see that outcomes do not arrive instantly, but persistent effort yields compounding results. Waiting becomes a tool, not a burden. Tension becomes a guide rather than a threat. In the end, learning to sit with discomfort is about choice. You can either surrender to the desire for ease, or embrace the reality that growth requires effort under strain. The choice defines results. Each decision to persist, to act, to remain engaged, and to embrace temporary discomfort compounds into skill, character, and achievement. Life does not reward avoidance, it rewards perseverance. Embracing discomfort transforms identity. The person who acts consistently under tension becomes the person capable of larger challenges, greater responsibility, and more meaningful achievement. Discomfort is no longer a threat, it becomes a signal of opportunity. Each moment spent enduring strengthens confidence, focus, and resilience. Transformation is built quietly, in the accumulation of small but deliberate acts of persistence. Finally, sitting with discomfort teaches freedom. Freedom is not the absence of struggle. Freedom is the ability to act, decide, and persist regardless of difficulty. Quitting early hands over that freedom to fear and impulse. Enduring discomfort, observing it without surrender, and acting intentionally restores control. You shape your life through persistent choice, not through fleeting motivation or temporary relief. The ability to remain present in struggle is one of the most reliable predictors of success, satisfaction, and lasting progress. The skill of sitting with discomfort will impact every area of life. Your work improves, your relationships strengthen, your confidence grows, and your resilience becomes unshakable.
Each day offers new moments of tension and resistance. Treat them as practice, accept them without judgment, persist without pause, build capacity without complaint. That is the way to transform temporary pain into permanent progress. Sitting with discomfort without quitting early is not easy, but it is essential. It is the skill that separates those who dream from those who achieve. It is the foundation of resilience, discipline, and long-term success. Each moment you choose endurance over escape, clarity over avoidance, and action over hesitation moves you closer to rebuilding your life, achieving your goals, and becoming the person capable of handling the challenges.
Chapter 5. Build self-trust by doing what you avoid. Avoidance is a silent thief in life. It hides behind excuses, distractions, and the illusion of busyness. Every time you sidestep a task, decision, or challenge, you chip away at trust in yourself. Self-trust is not built by comfort. It is forged in the moments when you confront what you would rather ignore. Growth, confidence, and progress are the direct results of consistently acting on what is uncomfortable, inconvenient, or intimidating. Every action you take toward what you avoid is an investment in credibility with yourself. That credibility becomes the foundation for everything else in life. Most people avoid responsibility without even realizing it. They postpone decisions, delay conversations, and skip tasks that feel unpleasant. Avoidance often disguises itself as prudence, timing, or prioritization, but deep down it is fear of discomfort, criticism, or failure. The mind resists what is difficult or unknown because it prefers safety, predictability, and temporary relief. That resistance feels normal, but normal does not build character. Self-trust is cultivated when you act even when the mind screams to stop or flee. Doing what you avoid requires clarity about your goals and values. When you know what you want and why it matters, avoidance loses power. Challenges, obstacles, and discomfort become opportunities to reinforce your alignment with your objective. Without clarity, avoidance dominates because the mind sees no urgency, no purpose, and no consequence. When purpose is explicit, action becomes inevitable. Each decision to face what you have been avoiding strengthens belief in yourself and your ability to handle reality. Procrastination is a major barrier to self-trust. People often wait for perfect conditions, energy, or inspiration before tackling what they avoid. The problem is that perfection rarely arrives. Motivation fluctuates. Conditions are never ideal. Waiting reinforces avoidance and erodes self-confidence. True self-trust emerges when you act despite imperfection. Completing tasks, making decisions, and confronting discomfort in spite of circumstances builds the internal assurance that you are reliable, capable, and competent. Self-trust is strengthened through repeated small victories. You do not need to tackle massive challenges immediately. Start with tasks you have been postponing. Pick the small things that make your life more orderly, productive, or aligned with your goal. Each successful act against avoidance reinforces a pattern of reliability. That pattern compounds over time, creating a sense of confidence that you can face larger challenges. Action builds momentum, and momentum builds identity. Avoiding what you fear or dislike undermines confidence over time. Every skipped task reinforces the story that you cannot handle difficulty, that discomfort is too powerful, or that failure is inevitable. That story becomes self-fulfilling. Breaking the cycle requires deliberate confrontation. Each time you choose action over avoidance, you rewrite the narrative about your capabilities. You prove to yourself that challenges are not threats, but opportunities to reinforce reliability, strength, and competence. The mind will resist this process. It will produce rationalizations to justify avoidance. It will whisper that you are too tired, too busy, or that circumstances are unfair. Those whispers are normal, but deceptive. They are the voice of temporary comfort at the expense of long-term growth. Recognize them without surrendering. Observe the excuses and then act anyway. Every time you act against avoidance, you demonstrate to yourself that you can overcome internal resistance. That demonstration is more powerful than any motivational speech or external validation. Self-trust is cumulative. It is not built in a single act, but in repeated alignment between intention and action. Each avoided task that you complete, each uncomfortable conversation that you initiate, each responsibility that you embrace, reinforces the belief that you can handle life. That belief compounds into confidence, clarity, and calmness under pressure. People who trust themselves make decisions faster, act more decisively, and remain steady when challenges arise. Self-trust shapes outcomes because it guides consistent action. Doing what you avoid also develops courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but action in the presence of it. Every act of facing avoidance strengthens bravery. Fear loses its grip because repeated action proves that challenges are manageable. Each time you confront the tasks, decisions, or situations you have been avoiding, fear diminishes slightly, and confidence grows. Over time, courage becomes habit. You no longer wait for fear to disappear before acting. You act and allow fear to adjust to your action. Self-trust is reinforced by accountability. Sharing goals, deadlines, and challenges with someone else creates external pressure that strengthens internal commitment. Accountability partners do not do the work for you, but their presence makes avoidance more difficult. Social awareness, combined with personal discipline, magnifies the habit of acting despite discomfort. You build credibility not only with yourself, but with others. Trust becomes both internal and relational, reinforcing patterns of responsible action. Avoiding what you fear or dislike also reduces clarity. Unfinished tasks, unresolved conflicts, and postponed decisions create mental clutter. That clutter drains energy, reduces focus, and fosters anxiety. Each act of facing avoidance clears space in your mind and life. Action against avoidance restores control. It eliminates uncertainty and reinforces the belief that you can handle what comes next. Mental clarity is a byproduct of confronting what you have been avoiding. Consistency matters more than intensity. You do not need to tackle every avoidance challenge at once. Small, deliberate, repeated actions accumulate over time. Each day, choose one task you have been avoiding. Complete it fully. Each completed task strengthens self-trust incrementally. Compounding effort builds resilience, discipline, and reliability. Avoidance is a habit, and habits are rewritten gradually. Each repetition strengthens your capacity to act. Self-trust requires honesty. Acknowledge where you have avoided responsibility, postponed action, or resisted challenges. Do not rationalize or minimize these behaviors. Honest recognition allows deliberate correction. Acting from awareness is far more powerful than acting from guilt, fear, or confusion. Honest reflection ensures that each decision you make is purposeful, not reactionary. Clarity in perception produces clarity in action, and clarity strengthens trust. Doing what you avoid teaches problem solving. Avoidance often signals a challenge, difficulty, or uncertainty. When you confront it, you must analyze, plan, and execute. Each act builds skill and resourcefulness. You discover that obstacles are rarely insurmountable, that solutions exist, and that you have the capacity to implement them. That realization reinforces confidence and reinforces the pattern of intentional action, which further strengthens self-trust. Facing avoidance also builds resilience. Life is unpredictable. Challenges, setbacks, and difficulties will arise. When you practice acting, despite discomfort, resistance, or fear, you strengthen the ability to endure future challenges without collapsing. Resilience is not innate, it is practiced. Each act of confronting avoidance trains emotional, mental, and physical endurance. Over time, the ability to persist through adversity becomes automatic rather than effortful.
Action against avoidance develops responsibility. You begin to see that your life is shaped by your decisions and actions rather than circumstance or luck. Each avoided task you complete reinforces the understanding that you have control over outcomes. Responsibility and trust in oneself are inseparable. Those who act consistently develop credibility with themselves, which translates into credibility with others. Self-trust creates the foundation for leadership, achievement, and independence. Avoidance often hides in discomfort, fear of judgment, or temporary inconvenience. People will prioritize comfort over growth repeatedly, thinking it is harmless. Over time, that harmless avoidance erodes integrity, confidence, and capability. Acting despite discomfort teaches that immediate relief is less valuable than long-term gain. Every choice to face what is difficult proves that you are capable of managing reality instead of fleeing from it. That truth becomes central to identity and personal empowerment. Self-trust is also strengthened through reflection. After completing what you previously avoided, take time to review the experience. What made it uncomfortable? How did you respond? What was learned? Reflection converts experience into wisdom and reinforces the belief that you are capable. Observing patterns in avoidance and action allows adjustment before habits become entrenched. Reflection transforms isolated victories into lasting competence. Doing what you avoid reshapes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, acts responsibly, and confronts challenges rather than running from them. Identity follows behavior. The person who consistently acts despite fear, discomfort, or difficulty naturally develops self-respect, confidence, and trustworthiness. Actions over time define who you are more than intentions or feelings. Overcoming avoidance also creates momentum. Every task completed builds confidence for the next one. The first step is often the hardest, but each subsequent step becomes easier because the mind recognizes a pattern of capability. Momentum compounds, energy builds, action reinforces action. Avoidance loses power because you have repeatedly proven to yourself that you can act despite resistance. Finally, building self-trust by doing what you avoid is not optional for anyone seeking growth. It is the core of discipline, courage, resilience, and achievement. The person who avoids challenges will remain stagnant. The person who acts despite discomfort, fear, or resistance develops reliability, self-respect, and inner authority. Each day presents opportunities to face what you have been avoiding. Each choice you make compounds into capacity, confidence, and competence. This is how self-trust is built. This is how a life is transformed. This is how 2026 can become the year your choices align with your potential and your actions define your character.
Chapter 6. Break patterns that keep pulling you backward daily. Patterns shape life more than intentions do. Every repeated action, thought, or habit creates momentum, either forward toward growth or backward into stagnation. Most people are unaware of the invisible routines that control them. They continue behaviors that undermine goals, erode confidence, and stall progress because those patterns feel familiar, comfortable, or automatic. Recognizing the patterns that pull you backward is the first step. Breaking them requires deliberate attention, conscious intervention, and consistent action. Until you disrupt these cycles, your efforts to rebuild your life in 2026 will be limited, inconsistent, and frustrating. Patterns are formed through repetition. Each time you repeat a behavior without conscious thought, it becomes ingrained. Your brain seeks efficiency, so it converts repeated behaviors into habits to reduce effort. Unfortunately, many habits are counterproductive. They may involve procrastination, negative self-talk, poor time management, unhealthy consumption, or avoidance of responsibility. Because they are automatic, They often operate outside your awareness. Breaking them requires bringing them into focus. Observation is the first step toward disruption. Awareness alone is insufficient. Most people know they have patterns that hold them back, but fail to act. Observation without action leads to frustration, guilt, and self-criticism. The next step is intervention. Identify the triggers, contexts, and cues that lead to backward behavior. Is it a specific time of day, a certain environment, a feeling, or a person? Knowing the circumstances allows you to predict when the pattern will occur and create strategies to interrupt it before it controls you. Breaking patterns requires replacing old behaviors with new ones. Simply trying to stop a habit often fails because the brain craves action. If you remove a behavior, you must provide an alternative that fulfills a need. For example, if distraction pulls you from work, replace scrolling on your phone with a focused task that offers progress and reward. If self-doubt pulls you from pursuing goals, replace it with small actions that reinforce competence and confidence. The replacement must be consistent, repeatable, and reinforcing. Resistance will appear naturally. Old patterns are comfortable because familiarity reduces perceived risk. Change feels unfamiliar and triggers discomfort. The mind may produce rationalizations, excuses, or emotional reactions to pull you back into old habits. That is normal. Each time resistance arises, it is a test of commitment and discipline. Respond intentionally, not reflexively. Acting despite the discomfort rewires the brain and strengthens the neural pathways that support new behaviors. Patterns are often reinforced by environment and associations. People, places, media, and routines can pull you backward without conscious realization. Evaluate influences carefully. Reduce exposure to triggers that activate unproductive behavior. Surround yourself with influences that encourage progress, accountability, and energy aligned with your goal. Environment does not create success alone, but it either supports or undermines your ability to maintain new patterns consistently. Breaking backward patterns also requires honesty about consequences. Many people repeat behaviors because immediate gratification feels better than long-term benefit. They convince themselves that the cost is negligible or that change can wait. Long-term reflection reveals the cumulative damage of these repeated actions. Each small backward step compounds over months and years, eroding time, opportunity, and confidence. Honest acknowledgement of consequences strengthens motivation to disrupt destructive cycles. Consistency matters more than intensity. Attempting radical change all at once often fails because the mind and body resist extreme disruption. Instead, incremental interventions over time create sustainable results. Focus on one pattern at a time, interrupt it daily. Replace it with a more constructive behavior, reinforce the new habit repeatedly until it becomes automatic. Momentum builds slowly but steadily, and each forward step compounds into meaningful progress. Patterns are not only behavioral, they are mental as well. Repeated negative thinking, self-criticism, and limiting beliefs reinforce backward behavior. Thoughts drive emotions, emotions drive action, and action creates outcomes. When mental patterns pull you backward, you may sabotage effort, avoid responsibility, or delay decisions. Addressing these cognitive patterns requires reflection, journaling, or conscious reframing. Repeatedly challenging and changing thought patterns rewires responses and supports forward action. Accountability strengthens pattern disruption. Share goals, track progress, and involve someone in your growth journey. When you know someone else is observing or supporting your effort, you are less likely to slip into old patterns. Accountability provides reinforcement, feedback, and external structure. It also encourages reflection, insight and learning from moments of backward drift. Combined with internal discipline, it creates a powerful system to overcome persistent negative behaviors. Monitoring progress is essential. Backward patterns often creep back unnoticed because change is gradual. Track behaviors, decisions and results over time. Review which interventions worked and which did not. Identify moments when you slipped and analyze triggers. Reflection without judgment allows course correction and reinforces self-awareness. Tracking progress transforms vague intentions into measurable evidence of growth. Disruption also requires emotional management. Many backward patterns are reinforced by avoidance of discomfort, fear of failure, or seeking temporary relief. Learning to tolerate discomfort without reacting impulsively is critical. When emotional impulses arise, pause, assess, and choose action aligned with your goals. Emotional regulation strengthens your capacity to break cycles and prevents regression when challenges occur. Backward patterns often disguise themselves as identity. You may believe, I am not disciplined, I am lazy, or I can't change. These beliefs reinforce behavior. Breaking patterns requires challenging these assumptions. Behavior shapes identity more than identity shapes. Each deliberate act of disruption proves to yourself that you can act differently. Over time, repeated proof rewrites self-perception, creating an identity aligned with growth rather than stagnation. Patterns also operate unconsciously through routine. People repeat daily rituals without consideration, unaware of cumulative impact. Breaking these requires observation, questioning, and redesign. Examine each routine and ask whether it advances your goals or supports backward momentum. Minor adjustments, consistently applied, accumulate into significant change. Consistency and awareness transform routine into a tool rather than a trap. Breaking backward patterns builds confidence. Every successful intervention reinforces belief in your ability to control behavior, make intentional choices, and shape outcomes. Confidence grows as you repeatedly act against automatic impulses and make progress. With increased confidence, resistance to future disruption diminishes. The mind becomes more willing to embrace new habits and sustain progress. Action must be deliberate. Patterns will try to pull you backward at predictable moments: fatigue, stress, temptation, or pressure. Plan for these moments. Identify strategies to counteract the pull. Create simple rules, non-negotiables, or triggers that remind you to act in alignment with your goals. Preemptive planning reduces reliance on willpower alone and increases success in sustaining change. Backward patterns often arise from unexamined emotion. Frustration, boredom, resentment, and anxiety trigger automatic behaviors that pull you off course. Recognizing emotional triggers and responding deliberately, rather than reflexively, prevents regression. Practices like mindfulness, journaling, or structured reflection help identify recurring emotional causes and provide pathways for constructive action. Breaking patterns requires patience. Old habits formed over years cannot be eliminated in days. Expect setbacks and interruptions, but do not let them discourage you. Persistence in small, repeated interventions builds lasting change. Momentum develops gradually, but the compound effect of consistent, daily action produces profound transformation over months and years. Patterns are reinforced by convenience. People often choose the easiest path, even when it is counterproductive. Convenience is deceptive because it feels like efficiency, but supports backward behavior. Choosing the more difficult but constructive path strengthens self-discipline, reinforces forward momentum, and reduces vulnerability to regression. Each deliberate choice away from convenience builds resilience, self-control, and trust in your ability to act intentionally. Disruption of backward patterns
requires focus. Dispersed attention allows old behaviors to re-emerge. Daily review of intentions, priorities, and outcomes maintains focus on meaningful actions. Each day consciously choose activities, thoughts, and interactions that support growth. Avoiding trivial distractions preserves energy and reinforces new patterns. Focus becomes both a shield against regression and a catalyst for consistent progress. Breaking backward patterns increases freedom. Each cycle disrupted reduces the unconscious control that past behavior exerted over your life. You regain the power to act intentionally, make deliberate decisions, and pursue goals without automatic interference. Freedom emerges through self-mastery, awareness, and disciplined action. Each interruption of a negative cycle expands capacity, control, and choice. Identity grows through pattern disruption. Repeated acts of deliberate action create a self-image of competence, resilience, and responsibility. This identity reinforces positive behavior because the mind seeks consistency with self-perception. The more you act aligned with your values and goals, the more effortless forward behavior becomes. Old patterns lose influence as the new identity consolidates. Breaking backward patterns strengthens problem solving. Each disruption challenges the mind to find alternatives, adapt, and respond intentionally. You develop flexibility, creativity, and strategic thinking. The ability to act decisively under conditions that previously triggered automatic regression is an essential skill for life and growth. Finally, breaking patterns that pull you backward is not an event, but a process. It is continuous awareness, deliberate action, reflection, and adapt. Each day presents opportunities to act differently, observe results, and reinforce growth. Over time, the accumulation of small, consistent interventions rewires behavior, strengthens self-discipline, and ensures that progress toward your goals is uninterrupted. Transformation comes from repeated, intentional disruption of the cycles that hold you back. In 2026, reclaim control by breaking the patterns that previously defined your life, act deliberately every day, and build momentum that compounds into consistent achievement, confidence, and growth.
Chapter 7. Create structure so chaos stops controlling you. Chaos in life is not just external, it often comes from lack of structure within. Days feel overwhelming, tasks pile up, responsibilities collide, and the mind races without clear direction. Most people respond to this by reacting impulsively, letting circumstance dictate choices, and drifting from one task to another. That is how momentum is lost, stress accumulates, and goals remain out of reach. Creating structure is not about rigidity or control over every detail. It is about designing a framework where decisions, energy, and focus flow toward meaningful progress rather than scattered reaction. Structure does not restrict freedom. It creates the conditions where freedom, clarity, and productivity can thrive. The first step in creating structure is identifying priorities. Without clarity on what matters most, chaos fills the gaps. People often act based on urgency rather than importance, responding to what shouts loudest rather than what advances their vision. When priorities are defined clearly, every action can be aligned to produce results. Decisions become faster, energy is focused, and time is protected. Structure begins with understanding what deserves your attention and what can be deferred or delegated. Time management is central to controlling chaos. Most people underestimate how long tasks take and overestimate their capacity to multitask. They scatter attention across too many responsibilities, leaving few completed tasks. Scheduling time deliberately, assigning blocks for specific activities, and including breaks prevents overwhelm. Structure allows control over how attention is spent, rather than letting the day dictate activity. Time becomes a tool rather than a source of stress. Daily routines build consistency, which is the foundation of structure. Regular rituals for morning preparation, work blocks, exercise and reflection reduce decision fatigue. When the day has predictable patterns, energy is conserved for important decisions instead of being wasted on minor choices. Routines do not eliminate spontaneity, but provide a backbone that stabilizes life. Stability in daily rhythm diminishes chaos because actions become automatic, predictable and aligned with goals. Organization of physical space is equally important. Cluttered desks, messy rooms and scattered belongings create mental distraction. The environment shapes attention. By arranging workspaces, planning storage, and removing unnecessary items, mental bandwidth is preserved for important tasks. Physical structure supports cognitive structure. When your surroundings are orderly, decision-making becomes easier, stress reduces, and focus strengthens. Chaos loses its grip when the environment supports purpose. Structure requires deliberate planning. Planning is not only for the long term, but for each day, week and month. Without a plan, priorities become optional and tasks incomplete. A simple plan provides clarity, reduces anxiety and ensures progress. Writing down objectives, sequencing actions, and reviewing daily achievements maintains direction. Planning creates predictability and momentum, both of which are antidotes to chaos. Boundaries are a critical element of structure. Without boundaries, demands from others consume your time, attention and energy. Saying no becomes essential to preserve focus on what matters. Boundaries can be temporal, emotional, or practical. They define when, how, and with whom engagement occurs. People respect clarity and limits, and your ability to enforce them protects progress, reduces stress, and prevents chaos from dictating the day. Habits reinforce structure. Consistent behaviors eliminate reliance on willpower alone. When tasks like exercise, reflection, learning, or planning are habitual, chaos has fewer opportunities to disrupt life. Habits anchor the day, provide predictability and reinforce identity as someone who acts intentionally. Each repeated habit strengthens the framework within which life operates. Momentum emerges naturally when structure is supported by disciplined repetition. Decision-making within structure prevents paralysis. Chaos thrives when choices are delayed, avoided, or made impulsively. Establishing clear principles for decisions, creating criteria and limiting trivial choices allows energy to focus on what truly matters. Decisions become faster, more consistent, and aligned with values. Structure acts as a guide that reduces hesitation, second-guessing, and reactive behavior. The mind operates efficiently when it knows the framework in which decisions are made. Flexibility complements structure. Structure is not rigidity. It is a framework designed to support consistent progress, not a prison that prevents adaptation. Unforeseen events, interruptions, and challenges will occur. Flexibility within structure allows for adjustment without abandoning purpose. People who are structured yet adaptable respond to change with calmness and decisiveness, rather than chaos and panic. Flexibility ensures sustainability and long-term control over life. Accountability strengthens structure. When you commit plans, routines, and habits to someone else or to a written system, you are more likely to follow through. Accountability provides feedback, correction, and reinforcement. It is difficult for chaos to dominate when systems and relationships support structure. External reminders complement internal discipline, making progress more consistent and reliable. Tracking progress provides reinforcement. Structure is validated when it produces results. Review achievements regularly, analyze what worked and what did not, and adjust systems as needed. Reflection consolidates learning and ensures that structure is purposeful rather than rote. Tracking allows recognition of momentum, highlights gaps, and strengthens motivation. Without feedback, structure can become mechanical and lose its impact. Energy management is part of creating structure. Chaos often emerges when energy is scattered, depleted, or misaligned. Scheduling rest, nutrition, exercise, and focus periods ensures that high-value actions are performed at optimal capacity. Structured energy allocation amplifies productivity and reduces the likelihood of reactive or impulsive behavior. Energy is as important as time in maintaining control over life. Technology can both support and undermine structure. Tools for planning, reminders, and tracking progress help maintain focus, but distractions from social media, notifications, and unfiltered communication feed chaos. Intentional use of technology ensures that it serves goals rather than distracts from them. Structure requires selective engagement with digital systems, not passive consumption that fragments attention. Breaking the habit of reacting to chaos is essential. Many people live in constant reaction mode, responding to emergencies, interruptions, and demands without strategy. Structure shifts the response from reaction to deliberate action. It provides the mental and physical space to choose responses aligned with long-term objectives, rather than immediate pressure. Reactivity diminishes when structure provides clarity, sequence, and foresight. Clear goals give structure purpose. Without meaningful objectives, routines and habits can become empty actions. Goals provide direction, measure progress, and maintain motivation. They also prioritize action, distinguishing between what is essential and what is noise. Structure without goals is form without function. Goals anchor routines, decisions, and actions in purpose, transforming order into meaningful progress. Reflection enhances structure. Daily or weekly review allows evaluation of systems, routines, and habits. Reflection identifies bottlenecks, gaps, or inefficiencies. It encourages refinement and ensures alignment with goals. Reflection also reinforces learning, increases self-awareness, and strengthens confidence in decision-making. Without reflection, structure can stagnate and lose its ability to control chaos. Account for unexpected events by building buffers. Life is unpredictable, and without margin, chaos can quickly overwhelm. Time buffers, financial reserves, and contingency plans reduce disruption. Anticipation of variability allows structure to maintain stability under pressure. Resilience in the face of uncertainty is strengthened when systems are built with foresight and adaptability. Structure improves focus. When the day is organized, decisions are clear, and routines are consistent, attention is directed toward high-value activity. Focus is enhanced because distractions are minimized, priorities are visible, and momentum is established. Chaos cannot dominate when focus is intentionally protected through systems and design. Delegation reinforces structure. Attempting to manage everything personally often leads to overwhelm. Identifying what can be delegated, automated, or simplified reduces clutter and frees energy for critical decisions. Delegation is a tool to preserve structure and ensures that time and focus are applied to areas of maximum impact. Discipline sustains structure. Initial plans or routines may be easy to implement in the first days, but maintaining them requires self-control and commitment. Discipline ensures consistency, prevents regression into chaos, and reinforces habits over time. The more disciplined the approach, the more resilient the structure becomes. Structure supports mental calmness. When systems are in place, decisions are pre-planned, routines are predictable, and priorities are clear, the mind experiences less stress. Reduced cognitive load, fewer surprises, and intentional action create psychological stability. Calmness enhances decision-making, emotional regulation, and consistent performance, further diminishing the power of chaos. Finally, creating structure transforms life from reactive to proactive. Chaos loses its control when the mind, body, and environment operate within clear frameworks. Systems, routines, priorities, boundaries, and reflection work together to produce clarity, focus, and momentum. In 2026,
Reclaim authority over each day by designing your life intentionally, controlling what you can, and letting structured action replace randomness, impulsivity, and disorder. Structured living is the foundation for freedom, productivity, and long-term fulfillment, and every deliberate choice to implement systems strengthens capacity, confidence, and growth.
Chapter 8. Strengthen your mind by choosing effort over comfort. Comfort is easy, effort is deliberate, and growth lives in the tension between the two. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort, seeking ease, avoiding strain, and prioritizing temporary pleasure over long-term benefit. Comfort feels safe, familiar, and convenient, but it quietly limits capability, erodes resilience, and stunts potential. Choosing effort over comfort is not about punishment. It is about investing in the person you are becoming. Every choice to act when you don't feel like it, to push beyond ease, and to engage fully with challenge strengthens the mind, reinforces self-discipline, and expands what is possible. The brain, like the body, grows stronger under consistent challenge, and each effortful action lays the foundation for mental toughness that comfort alone cannot produce. Effort requires intention. It begins with conscious recognition of what matters most. People often drift, acting in ways that minimize immediate discomfort while ignoring long-term consequences. The mind seeks shortcuts, distractions, and avoidance because it equates effort with risk, struggle, or fatigue. Choosing effort requires pausing, observing impulses toward ease, and deliberately redirecting energy toward meaningful action. That deliberate redirection is the essence of mental strength. Effort strengthens problem solving. Every time a difficult task is chosen over an easy one, the brain adapts. Challenges force analysis, planning, and innovation. A mind exercised through deliberate effort becomes faster, sharper, and more capable of handling complexity. Repeatedly choosing effort develops a mental reflex where obstacles are seen not as barriers but as opportunities for growth. The more effort you embrace, the more the mind becomes accustomed to high standards of focus, perseverance, and performance. Comfort is deceptive because it produces immediate satisfaction while concealing long-term stagnation. People often justify avoidance of effort with rationalizations. I've earned rest, I'll do it tomorrow, it's too hard. These thoughts feel reasonable in the moment, but they accumulate into a pattern that erodes confidence, skill, and momentum. Mental strength is built when those excuses are recognized and replaced with action. Choosing effort consistently rewires the brain to prioritize growth over temporary relief. Discomfort signals opportunity. Most people interpret tension, challenge, or struggle as something to escape, but these moments are where potential is realized. Effort transforms discomfort into learning, adaptation, and capability. The act of choosing effort trains the mind to tolerate difficulty without surrendering. Over time, the brain learns that discomfort is temporary, manageable, and productive, rather than threatening or intolerable. This shift is critical for building resilience, confidence, and mental endurance. Routine effort compounds. Mental strength is not developed in isolated acts of heroism or extreme challenges, but in repeated daily decisions to engage when it is easier to retreat. Small choices, completing tasks fully, confronting problems directly, practicing skills consistently, accumulate into competence, clarity, and self-belief. Momentum is built through persistence, not luck. Each action against ease reinforces the capacity to act in future situations, creating a cycle of increasing capability and confidence. Effort demands sacrifice. There will be temptations to default to comfort, the sofa, distraction, avoidance, indulgence, or procrastination. Every time you resist these pulls, you reinforce self-discipline and strengthen decision-making. Sacrifice is not deprivation, it is prioritization. Each moment chosen in alignment with long-term goals, rather than short-term comfort, builds mental authority over impulses, shaping character and fortifying willpower. Consistency reinforces mental toughness. Sporadic effort produces temporary results and leaves vulnerability to comfort intact. True strength emerges from repeated, deliberate action. Every day that effort is prioritized, neural pathways in the brain are strengthened, habits of resilience are reinforced, and the mind internalizes patterns of sustained engagement. Consistency transforms occasional acts of courage into automatic capacity for persistence, adaptability, and focus. Choosing effort requires honesty. The mind will often invent reasons to remain comfortable, excuses to avoid responsibility, or distractions to delay action. Recognizing these lies without judgment allows conscious redirection. Self-deception reinforces weakness. Self-awareness allows intervention. Mental strength is the ability to see clearly what must be done, resist internal resistance, and act deliberately. Honesty about the need for effort is the first step toward sustained growth. Effort is also relational. People often avoid conversations, feedback, or accountability because they are uncomfortable. Mental strength develops when difficult conversations are embraced. Feedback is sought rather than ignored, and personal responsibility is prioritized over avoidance. Each act of engagement, even when challenging, strengthens confidence, communication, and trust in your capacity to navigate complexity. Mental resilience grows in social as well as individual contexts. Stress tolerance is built through repeated effort. Life will inevitably present challenges, setbacks, and unexpected pressures. The mind accustomed to comfort reacts poorly under strain, becoming anxious, indecisive, or avoid. A mind trained through effort is prepared to act under stress, analyze situations rationally, and make effective decisions. Each confrontation with effort under pressure reinforces the understanding that difficulty is manageable and temporary, not paralyzing. Effort teaches self-reliance. When actions are chosen over comfort, you develop the understanding that results are produced by deliberate behavior, not circumstances or luck. Every decision to engage, persist, and complete builds proof that you can influence outcomes through consistent effort. This realization reduces dependency on motivation, mood, or external conditions. Mental strength grows because you internalize responsibility for progress and achievement. Effort enhances focus. The mind trained to act deliberately learns to resist distraction, delay, and indulgence. Focus is not accidental, it is cultivated through intentional engagement with tasks that matter. Comfort often breeds scattered attention, procrastination, and surface-level effort. Choosing effort over ease trains concentration, deep thinking, and sustained energy toward high-value activities. This is how mastery develops in any skill, habit, or goal. Patience is required for sustained effort. Results rarely appear instantly. People conditioned to seek comfort expect immediate satisfaction and abandon persistence when outcomes are delayed. Mental strength is reinforced by understanding the delayed nature of rewards. Each day of consistent effort, even when progress is unseen, strengthens resilience, reinforces discipline, and builds trust in the process, rather than the moment. Patience under effort is a marker of maturity, capability, and self-trust. Effort also cultivates gratitude. Comfort often blinds people to the value of effort and achievement. When the mind is trained to act intentionally, challenges are recognized as opportunities, and each success becomes meaningful. Gratitude emerges naturally because effort highlights progress, perseverance, and capability. Appreciating small victories reinforces motivation, strengthens identity, and encourages continued engagement with what is difficult but valuable. Self-reflection strengthens the impact of effort. After completing challenging tasks,
reviewing performance, analyzing decisions, and acknowledging growth reinforces mental pathways of resilience and intentional action. Reflection converts effort into wisdom. Patterns of avoidance are replaced by patterns of engagement. Impulsivity is replaced by deliberation, and passivity is replaced by proactive behavior. Reflection ensures that effort compounds into lasting growth rather than temporary activity. Effort shapes identity. The person who repeatedly chooses comfort becomes someone who tolerates mediocrity, delays action, and avoids responsibility. The person who consistently chooses effort becomes someone reliable, capable, resilient, and self-disciplined. Identity follows action, and each deliberate choice reinforces the self-image of someone who acts with purpose, even under discomfort. Over time, identity and behavior align, creating a powerful cycle of internal authority and capability. Effort also strengthens decision-making. Choosing action when the mind prefers ease improves judgment under pressure, increases confidence in choices, and reduces indecision. Each time a challenging decision is faced and acted upon, the mind internalizes the ability to act decisively in future scenarios. Mental agility grows and hesitation diminishes. Choosing effort rewires the mind to prioritize long-term outcomes over short-term comfort automatically. Effort builds resilience against failure. Avoiding challenge to maintain comfort leaves the mind fragile. The first setback produces discouragement, anxiety, or defeat. Repeated engagement with effort, even when success is uncertain, strengthens the ability to recover, adapt, and persist. Resilience is built through exposure, repetition, and reflection. The mind learns that difficulty does not equal disaster, that discomfort does not equal danger, and that persistence produces growth. Finally, choosing effort over comfort is not an occasional practice, it is a daily commitment. Every choice matters. Rising early, completing tasks fully, confronting difficult conversations, pushing through resistance, prioritizing learning, and acting deliberately shapes the mind into one capable of handling life's complexity. Mental strength grows not from convenience, but from repeated, deliberate engagement with what challenges, stretches, and tests ability. In 2026, reclaim your mind by choosing effort consistently, embracing difficulty over ease, and letting action shape identity, confidence, and resilience. Each effortful moment compounds, building a mind capable of creating results, handling adversity, and achieving potential far beyond what comfort would allow.
Chapter 9. Grow by fixing small problems before they grow. Problems rarely start as disasters. They begin small, subtle, and often unnoticed. Ignoring them does not make them disappear. It allows them to grow into challenges that demand more time, energy, and stress. Most people wait until issues escalate before acting, believing they can manage later, or hoping circumstances will fix themselves. That approach creates overwhelm, anxiety, and setbacks. Growth happens when small problems are addressed immediately, consistently, and deliberately. Every small fix strengthens skills, confidence, and capacity to handle increasingly complex situations. Developing the habit of resolving minor issues prevents accumulation, reinforces responsibility, and creates a mindset of proactive control over life. The first step in fixing small problems is awareness. Many small issues remain invisible because of neglect, distraction, or denial. Mental and physical clutter often mask early warning signs. A leak in finances, tension in relationships, inefficiency at work, or procrastination in personal projects may seem minor, but each compounds over time. Observing life carefully, noticing patterns, and acknowledging imperfections is essential. Awareness without judgment creates clarity and prepares the mind to act deliberately. Action must be immediate. The longer a problem is postponed, the larger it grows. Each delayed action increases complexity, requiring more energy, time and resources to address later. Acting quickly, even in small ways, prevents escalation. Immediate intervention trains responsibility and strengthens decision-making. The habit of resolving problems promptly builds confidence in your ability to manage life effectively. Small fixes also develop discipline. Problems are often ignored because they feel inconvenient, uncomfortable, or tedious. Discipline allows the mind to act despite resistance. Completing a minor repair, addressing a conflict early, correcting a financial discrepancy, or following through on a neglected task reinforces the principle that effort applied consistently produces stability. Mental strength grows through repeated attention to detail and follow-through, not through occasional grand gestures. Proactivity replaces reaction. Waiting until problems become urgent creates reactive stress, rushed decisions, and poor outcomes. Proactive attention to small issues allows preparation, planning, and thoughtful action. The mind and body operate under less strain, and solutions are more effective and less disruptive. Proactivity also cultivates foresight, allowing identification of patterns that could create future problems. Each small action strengthens the capacity to anticipate and prevent challenges before they grow. Breaking the habit of avoidance is essential. Avoidance may provide temporary relief, but it compounds anxiety, guilt, and complexity. Mental energy is wasted when attention lingers on unresolved issues. Addressing problems immediately reduces cognitive load, restores focus, and reinforces control over life. Each small action creates momentum, reinforces accountability, and demonstrates the value of deliberate engagement with reality rather than deferral. Growth occurs through accumulation of small wins. Fixing minor issues consistently demonstrates competence, builds confidence, and reinforces a sense of capability. Each resolution strengthens belief in the ability to handle more significant challenges. Success compounds, and confidence grows as the mind becomes trained to notice problems early and address them efficiently. Momentum develops from repeated small interventions, producing long-term transformation. Learning to identify which issues will cause the most future disruption allows focused action. Some minor issues, if ignored, will escalate rapidly, while others may remain inconsequential. Assessing importance and impact before acting ensures effort is applied strategically, maximizing growth and preventing wasted energy. Systems amplify effectiveness. Creating routines and processes for identifying and addressing minor problems makes intervention automatic. For example, regular financial review prevents debt accumulation, weekly check-ins maintain relationships, and structured work habits avoid missed deadlines. Systems reduce reliance on motivation alone and embed problem-solving into daily life. Consistency is reinforced when habits support proactive attention to detail. Responsibility drives growth. Waiting for others, blaming circumstances or expecting problems to resolve themselves diminishes control and delays development. Taking ownership, even of small issues, reinforces personal authority, builds trust in yourself, and strengthens resilience. Each problem addressed independently trains competence and reinforces the mindset that you are capable of shaping outcomes through deliberate action. Observation and reflection enhance prevention. After fixing small problems, reflect on how they arose, what could have been done to prevent them, and how to respond more efficiently in the future. Reflection converts experience into learning. Each insight strengthens foresight, reduces recurrence, and enhances the ability to respond to similar challenges proactively. Learning from small interventions improves skill, judgment, and mental acuity over time. Fixing small problems develops patience. Immediate solutions do not always produce perfection. Each minor challenge requires time, attention, and effort. Patience is strengthened as the mind learns to engage consistently without expecting immediate, flawless outcome. Gradual improvement compounds into significant progress, and the capacity to tolerate incremental work strengthens long-term resilience and commitment. Consistency in problem solving is essential. Sporadic attention allows unresolved issues to accumulate, creating chaos. Daily, deliberate engagement with minor challenges stabilizes life, reinforces self-discipline, and prevents overwhelm. Consistency transforms small, isolated efforts into reliable patterns of competence and control. Each resolved problem strengthens the next, creating a cycle of effective action and reinforced confidence. Small problems often signal deeper patterns. Addressing the surface issue provides immediate relief, but understanding root causes prevents recurrence. Whether it is procrastination, miscommunication, inefficiency, or personal avoidance, identifying underlying patterns ensures the solution has long-term effect. Addressing root causes strengthens insight, decision-making, and the ability to prevent future challenges from escalating. Mental clarity improves when small problems are addressed. Unresolved issues clutter the mind, drain energy, and create anxiety. Each resolution clears cognitive space, allowing focus on meaningful tasks. Mental resources are better utilized when attention is not consumed by lingering minor issues. The mind becomes sharper, more deliberate, and more capable of strategic thinking as clutter is removed. Small problems also strengthen relationships. Ignoring minor conflicts, miscommunications, or unmet expectations creates tension and erodes trust. Addressing these issues early maintains connection, fosters respect, and demonstrates reliability. The habit of timely problem solving builds credibility and reinforces relational stability. People naturally respond positively to consistent responsibility, creating more cooperative and harmonious environments. Time management is reinforced through attention to minor issues. Neglecting small responsibility often creates last-minute crises that demand more time than necessary. Prompt attention ensures that schedules remain manageable, deadlines are met, and priorities are maintained. Efficient use of time increases productivity and reduces stress, reinforcing the benefits of proactive engagement with life's challenges. Small fixes reduce cumulative stress. Each unresolved issue, no matter how minor, contributes to tension, distraction, and anxiety. Addressing problems as they arise prevents accumulation, ensuring that stress does not reach overwhelming levels. Mental and emotional energy is preserved for meaningful growth and high-value action, rather than being wasted on preventable escalation. Accountability supports this habit. Sharing intentions, tracking completion, or involving a partner increases adherence to proactive problem solving. External reinforcement complements internal discipline, making it more likely that small problems will be addressed consistently. Accountability encourages reflection, correction, and reinforcement of proactive behavior. Incremental growth builds confidence. Each small problem fixed reinforces the belief in capability and competence. Confidence grows as repeated actions produce visible results. This confidence transfers to larger challenges, creating a self-reinforcing cycle where competence breeds resilience, clarity, and willingness to engage with complexity. Each success reinforces the ability to handle more significant issues with skill and composure. Flexibility is part of problem solving. While small problems are addressed promptly, unexpected circumstances may require adaptation.
Being able to adjust methods, timing, or approach ensures that interventions remain effective. Rigidity can create stress, inefficiency, or failure to resolve issues. Flexibility, combined with consistency, strengthens skill, judgment, and outcomes. Reflection on patterns of problems reinforces learning.
Chapter 10. Commit to becoming reliable even on bad days. Reliability is the foundation of trust, character, and long-term success. Being reliable does not mean only performing when circumstances are favorable or energy is high. True reliability is demonstrated in moments of challenge, distraction, or personal difficulty. It is easy to keep promises when the day is smooth and everything aligns with plans. The test of character, influence, and self-mastery comes when life is unpredictable, energy is low, or obstacles appear. Committing to reliability on good days is common. Committing to it on bad days separates those who achieve from those who drift. Consistency in action, thought, and follow-through, even when conditions are adverse, builds resilience, authority, and confidence. Every choice to act responsibly under difficulty strengthens identity, reinforces trust, and compounds progress over time. Start by recognizing that bad days will happen. Life is inherently unpredictable. Weather changes, personal challenges arise, relationships encounter tension, and professional demands fluctuate. Energy, mood, and motivation will vary. Those who rely solely on good feelings to perform will fail intermittently. Reliability is independent of circumstance. It is a principle, a discipline, and a habit that requires conscious choice. Understanding that adversity is inevitable reframes how effort, discipline, and commitment are applied. Reliability is an act of integrity. Integrity is the alignment between promises, actions, and values regardless of convenience. People often convince themselves that exceptions are acceptable, rationalizing that one skipped task, delayed response, or unfulfilled commitment is understandable. While it may feel harmless in the moment, these small compromises erode credibility and self-trust over time. Demonstrating integrity through consistent action, especially when inconvenient, establishes a reputation that attracts opportunity, respect, and cooperation. Self-awareness strengthens reliability. Knowing your limits, triggers, and tendencies allows preparation. If energy is low, planning tasks strategically, delegating responsibilities when necessary, and maintaining core commitments ensures that reliability is maintained without overextension. Awareness allows intervention before failure occurs. People who understand themselves act intentionally rather than reacting impulsively to challenges or fatigue. Self-awareness converts unpredictability into manageable conditions for consistent performance. Reliability requires discipline. Motivation is fleeting, mood fluctuates, and circumstances often oppose intention. Discipline bridges the gap between intention and action. It is the decision to follow through regardless of temporary desire or comfort. Developing mental habits that prioritize completion, accountability, and consistency ensures that action persists even on difficult days. Discipline is the muscle that maintains reliability when external factors are unstable. Prioritization is essential. Not every task has equal significance, and attempting to fulfill all responsibilities at maximum capacity is unrealistic. Reliability is demonstrated by identifying what is most critical and ensuring those obligations are met consistently. Less important matters can be delayed or delegated without compromising credibility. Strategic focus ensures that effort is applied where it produces the highest value, reinforcing reliability without creating unnecessary strain. Commitment to routines strengthens consistency. Routines create predictable patterns that reduce dependence on willpower alone. Habits like daily planning, reflection, preparation, and scheduled execution provide a framework where reliability is reinforced automatically. Structured routines allow performance to continue when energy or motivation wanes. The predictable repetition of intentional action builds resilience, self-trust, and capacity for dependable results. Accountability amplifies reliability. Sharing responsibilities, progress, or intentions with others increases adherence to commitments. Accountability partners, written logs, or external reminders support follow-through and reduce opportunities for neglect. Reliability is easier to maintain when mechanisms exist to reinforce standards, provide feedback, and correct lapses. Accountability transforms intention into action, particularly on challenging days when personal motivation is insufficient. Anticipation prevents failure. Unforeseen obstacles often create excuses for unreliability. By identifying potential challenges ahead of time, planning responses, and creating contingency measures, the impact of adverse conditions is reduced. Reliability is not reactive, it is proactive. Preparing for difficulties ensures that commitments are met, even when circumstances shift unexpectedly. Anticipation reduces stress, protects credibility, and reinforces confidence. Persistence under adversity develops resilience. Bad days test consistency, patience, and resolve. Minor setbacks, emotional fluctuations, or unforeseen complications can derail effort unless persistence is applied. Reliability is demonstrated by completing obligations despite inconvenience, fatigue, or discouragement. Each act of follow-through strengthens resilience, trains focus, and reinforces self-trust. Persistence transforms temporary difficulty into evidence of competence and character. Communication maintains reliability when challenges threaten completion, informing relevant parties, adjusting expectations transparently, and seeking assistance when necessary, prevents misunderstanding and preserves trust. Reliability is not perfection, it is consistent effort to fulfill commitments responsibly. Clear communication during difficulty strengthens relationships, reduces friction, and demonstrates accountability. People respect those who remain engaged, proactive, and transparent under stress. Time management supports consistent. Reliability is compromised when poor scheduling, procrastination, or distraction prevents completion of obligations. Structuring time, setting boundaries, and allocating energy strategically ensures that tasks are fulfilled even on difficult days. Awareness of deadlines, available energy, and potential interruptions allows intentional action. Efficient time use reinforces credibility, reduces stress, and strengthens the habit of dependable execution. Emotional regulation is crucial. Bad days often involve frustration, disappointment, or emotional turbulence. Reacting impulsively to these states undermines reliability. Developing skills to manage emotions ensures that actions are consistent, measured, and aligned with commitment. Mental composure strengthens focus, preserves energy, and prevents lapses in accountability. Emotional control allows the maintenance of performance standards, independent of mood. Self-trust grows through repeated follow-through. Every time commitments are met on a challenging day, confidence in personal reliability increases. That trust in oneself reduces hesitation, reinforces courage to face adversity, and solidifies the identity of someone dependable. Self-trust compounds over time, creating a virtuous cycle where confidence and capability reinforce each other. Reliability becomes ingrained, not conditional. Reliability influences relationships. People are drawn to those whose actions are consistent, predictable, and trustworthy. Dependable behavior fosters loyalty, collaboration, and cooperation. Unreliability, even sporadic, erodes confidence, creates doubt, and diminishes influence. Commitments kept during challenging times have the most impact because they demonstrate integrity and competence under pressure. Relationships thrive when reliability is a priority, not a convenience. Consistency reinforces habits of excellence.
Reliable action across days, weeks, and months creates patterns that shape identity. Small, repeated acts of follow-through compound into a reputation of dependability. People respect those whose character is demonstrated consistently, not selectively. Long-term credibility and opportunity arise from the accumulation of reliable behaviors, particularly those maintained under adversity. Accountability to oneself is as important as external accountability. Reflecting daily on commitments made and fulfilled strengthens self-discipline. Awareness of lapses, strategies for improvement, and reinforcement of successes ensures reliability is internalized. Self-accountability creates ownership, reduces reliance on external pressure, and embeds the habit of consistent action deeply within character. Adapting to circumstances preserves reliability. Life presents unpredictability, illness, or conflicting demands. Flexible strategies ensure obligations are met without sacrificing standards. Adaptation is not compromise, it is intelligent alignment of effort with conditions. Reliability is preserved when actions are deliberate, strategic, and responsive to the environment while maintaining core principles. Effort prioritization enhances resilience. On difficult days, energy may be limited, but choosing which obligations must be met reinforces credibility. Completing essential responsibilities ensures core commitments remain intact. Focused action prevents overwhelm, reduces stress, and strengthens the habit of accountability. Reliability is preserved through intelligent allocation of effort to what matters most. Reflection strengthens learning, evaluating how commitments were met, what challenges arose, and how performance can improve reinforces the skill of being dependable. Reflection converts experience into insight, ensuring that patterns of reliability are refined and strengthened over time. Learning from each day, particularly difficult ones, builds competence, confidence, and the ability to maintain standards under varied conditions. Repetition builds identity. Each day that reliability is practiced reinforces the internal belief that you are someone who can be trusted to follow through. Identity follows action. By acting reliably under difficulty repeatedly, reliability becomes part of character rather than occasional behavior. Reputation, self-trust, and influence are solidified by consistency across time. Finally, committing to reliability, even on bad days, transforms life. Dependable action builds trust, strengthens relationships, develops character, and creates momentum. It ensures that progress continues regardless of circumstance, energy, or mood. Each choice to follow through compounds into skill, confidence, and resilience. In 2026, rebuilding your life requires the discipline to remain consistent, the courage to act under challenge, and the commitment to demonstrate reliability, no matter the condition. Every difficult day becomes an opportunity to reinforce character, establish trust, and create a life defined by accountability, competence, and steady progress. Reliability is not conditional on convenience. It is a principle, a habit, and a lifelong investment in self, relationships, and results.